there's anyone who should be in a big screen, it's Marc Marquez. It's absolutely superb to watch. Just watching him, I mean, it is fantastic, isn't it, to see. But why? Why is he so good?
He's a complete package. I mean, he's got so much aggression, but it's controlled aggression. He's got this unique style. I mean, his riding style, he hangs off that bike so much. I mean, look at that for, you know, a perfect shot. His shoulder's nearly on the ground. Yeah, we've seen riders hang off in the past, and I teach people, and when I'm teaching, I always say you've got to hang off the bike, so the bike, you can keep the bike more upright. But he's taken it to the next level. And now for young kids coming through, if your elbow's not on the ground, you need to adjust your riding style because you're doing something wrong, because this is the way you have to ride in the future. He's in a great team. He's probably in the best team in the paddock. Of course that helps. He's fearless. He really is fearless. He's not afraid. You see him ride on the limit and over it. What he's doing on that motorcycle, he should be more anxious. He should, you know, it should slow him down, but it doesn't. Nothing puts him off, and that's the fearless bit. Stunning. I love it.
He seems to really enjoy it as well. But is he, when he says he's under control on some of those braking moves we've seen there, is he really? Because he almost binned it in the final corner in Austin.
Yeah, I've got to say, the shots we saw from practice, he's slightly out of control because he's on the limit. And then he's trying to go faster, so he's flirting with the limit, so he brakes a little bit later, and that puts the bike into an endo, or he misses the corner, or we see the front hop across the ground. What the magical part is, when he does that, he's not crashing, and that's where his talent is just immense.
How do we stop him?
Now, that's the million-dollar question.
They all want to know.
How do you beat Marc Marquez? Well, there's two ways you could beat him. One is what I call the Lorenzo way, and that's get a good start, get in front of him, and block him. We saw him do that in Valencia, and he was very successful doing that. I guess the second way is to pressure him, constantly pressure him, so that every time he goes over that start line, he sees +0, and you've just got to hope he makes a mistake. I mean, remember last year he crashed 15 times. You know, he won the championship, but he did crash 15 times throughout the season.
So you pointed out Lorenzo blocking, did it Valencia, Japan last year. What do you mean by blocking? Is it, I suppose, like Chelsea putting a flat back four or safety shots in snooker?
But it's just like that, because you're disturbing the person's rhythm, like you would do in snooker or you do in football. Yeah, it's no different to that.
Just have to wait and see and hope this weekend someone can give him a bit more of a race than they did in Austin. But in the meantime, I'm just going to sit back and enjoy
this.
it. Yeah.
So Andrea, you got your best ever finish in America for Ducati. You know, that's Ducati's first podium in 18 months. How was it? How did it feel?
You know, so important for everybody. For the riders, you know, it's always important to go on the podium, but I'm so happy for the teams and all the people working a lot. I mean, still we are not fast as we want, and we are not in the same level to fight for the podium in this moment, but we are closer. So like in Austin, the condition was good. Some riders have a bigger problem on the front tires than us, and we are able to get the podium. That is the reality, and many people say, with the new rules we have a lot of positive points, but it's not the reality. The real situation why we decided to use the different rules is to be able to develop the bike.
Yeah.
It's what we need now compared to the Yamaha.
What is the one thing, one area where you need the bike to improve?
It's very simple, and it's very big, the limit we have about turning. I mean, now in the braking we are really strong. In the first part of entry, where you are still on braking, we are quite strong, but immediately when you have to release the braking and make the maximum angle and start to turn, in that moment, it's like in the train. You make a different line, but you are not able to make the same line.
Same turning. I've preempted that you was going to say this. Can you show me, but with the pen, of where the problem is?
Until this point, normally is the point where you release the braking.
Yeah.
And these are our limits. I mean, until here you are able to follow the competitor.
Yeah.
And in this moment, when you release the braking, the bike want to go a little bit out. So you are not able to make the same line. The consequence is that we have many consequences.
Yeah.
I mean, First, we are not able to keep the same speed in the middle of the corner because we have to do a wide line.
Yeah.
Second, when you pull the bike and you put the bike over the limit. So the consequence is to close the front, lose the front, yeah. And the third is the consumption of the tire. I mean, in one lap, maybe you are quite close, but you use more tire, more energy, a different line. So the second lap is worse, third lap is worse.
And over 30 laps, so 25 laps is difficult. Right. This year you're now back with Cal Crutchlow.
Yep.
You worked with him 2 years ago. How is the relationship going with Cal?
But he's a quite strange guy.
We know Cal, so I understand.
Maybe you know better than
I know
me.
Cal.
And I'm happy to be his teammate. I already made 1 year, and it was a funny years. It's nice to spend the time with him.
Yeah.
He's really funny, and he's really aggressive. I mean, strong. He really believe to get results. So this is positive for to get result and to push each other on the limit.
Well, Andrea, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Best of luck this weekend, and now it's great to see Ducati back up there, and we hope that can continue.
Thank you so
Good luck.
much.
Thanks.
Yes, I'm outside the Ducati garage. The sun is baking down with Gigi. Gigi, have you heard anything from Cal over the weekend, the latest with his health?
Yeah, you know, Cal is recovering from his injury. I hope that he will be in Carrez in good shape, but for sure will be difficult.
Yeah, always very difficult with the hand. What about the weather? It seems like it's hotter. It feels hotter now than ever before. Is that going to affect your guys in the race?
Yeah, you know, we have not a harder tire, so it's quite difficult for us because the track temperature for sure increase a lot for the race, and the life of the rear tire is a big issue for the race. It will, I think, will be a difficult race.
Good luck anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to round 3 of the 2014 MotoGP Championship, live from Argentina. Now we get to sample what it's like out on Termas Rio Hondo track. Neil Hodgson got back in the saddle to show us all the twists and turns.
Well, it's another new track, and I've got to say the feedback so far has been really, really positive. Now, one thing everybody's told me is watch out, this track is really, really slippy, so let's go and see what it's all about.
Now here we go, 3rd gear, 4th gear, fast into turn 1 now. Oh, the bike's sliding a lot on the way into there. This is a lovely long corner, knees down, into the curve, get on the throttle hard. A lot of traction control kicking in, hard on the brakes into what's going to be a tricky corner. Nice and banked, but it encourages you to go in early. Slow on the exit. Bike slides a lot onto here. 3rd gear, onto 4th gear, the bike's moving. 5th gear, 6th gear, 160 miles an hour, 170. Hard again on the brakes, all the way down to 2nd gear. Again, the bike moves a lot more than normal. Oh, so tricky this corner. This is where they've all been crashing at the end of the straight. It leads into this really long corner. Place it in all the way, it goes on forever. Already, you can see the black lines from the MotoGP riders spinning it up. Ooh, a little bit wide. Got that slightly wrong. Here we go, back in. We're back online. Hold it tight around this one. We're approaching the Assen section, that's what we've renamed it. It's a nice flowing curb-to-curb section. What a beautiful corner. Up over here is where we've seen Marquez use the curbs. Let's give it a go. Ooh. Ooh. Hey up. It moved a bit there. Marc Marquez wouldn't have shut off, would he? I did. Hard out of here, 3rd gear, all the way into the last corner. Into the penultimate corner, I should say. This is where I expect to see all the overtaking. On the last lap, there's definitely a place where you can dive underneath people. Oh, you're going to be slow this first, but it's a lot slower than it looks. Into third gear, over the curves, and run it out onto the curves. And that is a lap.
Well, I missed the pit lane entrance. I don't know if you saw that. That's quite embarrassing. That is definitely a rookie mistake. I mean, as for the track, I knew it was going to be slippy. The only places I really felt it was on the brakes. The back end of the bike was really lively and it moved around a lot. One thing that just stands out, I'm not surprised Marc Marquez is so quick round here, because you're on the side of the tyre and it's slippy. And as we know and as we've seen so far this year, he loves the bike moving, so hence he's a second faster than everybody. I actually can't believe they need used subtitles. I mean, is it the Burnley accent? What's going on? I've only just stopped sweating as well. I enjoyed it though. I'm joined by Matt Burt, the man who's got all the gossip. What was the story after the warm-up?
Well, it looks again here like Marc Marquez is nailed on for the win, doesn't it? It seems like we're in for a fight for second place. But the big news is Alex Espargaro on that Ford Open Class Yamaha. He's not been outside the top four all weekend, starting from fourth on the grid. Some people thinking that he might sneak on the podium here. We've been waiting to see whether an Open Class bike will jump on the podium. I think the crucial thing is he's found some pace and endurance on the tyres on the hard option. But we know that Open Class Yamaha, it has to run the standard electronics. So he's not going to get the assistance in the second half of the race when the tyres have gone off that those factory boys are going to get. That could be real crucial.
That's really interesting. Also, there's a story that he can use the hard tyre here, which has been, obviously we've been fast all year, hasn't he, really, on the softer stuff. Have you heard that rumour? But
I think that's been the key for him all year. We know he's electrifyingly fast on the soft tyre, but he's just been looking to get the endurance out of the harder tyre. He seems much more confident here. This is going to be a tricky track, though, isn't it, for him? We know that the surface is very, very abrasive. There's more grip, and it's certainly cleaner than what it was on Friday. But yeah, tyre management's going to be vital for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, if I'm honest, I think he'll be happy if he can stay in front of the factory Yamahas. I'm sure that's his goal.
What a result that would be.
Absolutely. Well, there's one thing we're going to say this straight after this short break. Melanie, I am roasting. It's absolutely boiling. It's the hottest it's been all weekend. Already a lot of the technicians are panicking a little bit because this is, you know, it's like unknown territory, what the tyres are going to do. Obviously, it's a long race. Now, one thing I want you to focus on, where I'm standing right now is the racing line, basically, about this wide. If we go walking over here, I'm going to explain how difficult the start is going to be for Marc Marquez, because he's on the dirty part of the track. Just follow me. As we walk through here. Now, can you just focus down onto the track? I don't know if you can see how dirty it is. The shade of the track is, you can see the dirt all in between it. This track is filthy. Now, what you've got to understand is Marc Marquez's bike produces 260 brake horsepower. Now, the rear tyre contact patch is about that big, just over an inch. So as he lets that clutch out, his 260 brake horsepower is going through it. Oh, hello, you see that? Bit of a flyby there, I don't know who that was. Maybe Bernie Eccleston checking on what's going on in MotoGP. Let's have a walk through here. Let's see if we can have a chat to. I'll tell you what would be interesting to have a chat to. See if we can have a word with Wilco Zeelenberg. Wilco, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not so bad. Nice weather here and it's a nice racetrack, so all the bikes are ready.
Nice weather, it's hot. I mean, have you got any concerns? This is as hot as it's been the whole weekend.
No, not really. For sure, we've seen the Moto 3 and Moto 2 race, so the pace was very consistent. The track cleaned up a lot, so I expect a very fast race.
It's been like a hard weekend for you guys. You know, you're 2 seconds off the pace at the very first session. Guys, you've worked through and you're in a good, strong position now.
Yeah, of course, Jorge lost a bit of confidence in the first 2 races, and obviously he needed to build that up, and I think we did good. You know, still Marc is 1 step ahead, I would say, but yeah, we tried to fight for the podium.
Fantastic. Well, good luck with the race.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's interesting. That's interesting for the team manager to say that Jorge lost a little bit of confidence. Obviously, we speculated that, and you know, it's not stating the obvious, but it's rare a man of his sort of stature and confidence. You know, he's world champion. You wouldn't expect him to lose it, but anyway, he's definitely on the road to recovery. Qualified second. Here's a man I'd love to have a chat to. Is Stefan Bradl. He's been quick both races. Obviously, had a crash in Qatar. And Stefan, how are you? Now that was a big crash in practice. It looked an awkward one as well. It flicked you down hard on the side. Are you okay now?
I'm okay, yeah. And trying to finish the race in a better position than we are here in the grid on 9th. So it's going to be important the last few laps. Nobody knows how the tire will work there, but that's going to be the key for the race. Try to be strong there in the last part, and then we will see.
Stefan, you've been fast all year. You've been very fast all weekend. It was only that small crash just over there where the back end stepped out. Apart from that, you must feel confident.
Yeah, it's not too bad. All the guys are on the same pace. We'll see. It's going to be an exciting race, except Mark in front will be, is in own league, but we try to do our best, and then let's see what's the end of the race. We'll see.
Good luck, Stefan.
Thank you.
Well, what a sort of relaxed, sort of chilled attitude. He's certainly not happy, obviously, qualifying 9th. That's his worst qualifying position, but it's only due to the crash. I'm going to try and find Brock Parks, wherever he is. Let's just come with me. We might have to rush a little bit here because we are running out of time. Don't blame me. Brock Parks has qualified 18th. Now, doesn't sound too great, does it? Brock Parks' bike is 16 miles an hour slower than the fastest. So imagine if you're going down the road at 30 miles an hour and a car comes past you at 46 miles an hour. That's what this guy's got on every section of the track. Brock. Now we're trying to at BT Sports, we're celebrating this 18th place. I mean, you're only 0.7 of a second behind Scott Redding. You're 16 miles an hour down on the straight. How are you feeling?
Yeah, we're struggling a little bit, like you said, on top speed. But yesterday in the qualifier, we were second in the last split, and in the smaller corners, we're not too bad. So, I'm pretty pumped to be here for such a small team, and the race is going to be probably a little bit different story. But it's still only my 3rd race, so basically I'm just trying to learn every time I go out on the bike, and this will be really my 2nd race. So hopefully I can just go out in the race and try my best.
Well, Brock, we're all behind you, mate.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think it's fair to say it's going to be a really good race. Now, you're very fortunate you can have the world's best commentators, Keith and Julian.
What an accolade, thank you very much. It's the grand finale of a fantastic first Argentinian Grand Prix at Termas de Rio Hondo. We have been treated to fantastic hospitality. It's an overused word, Julian, but I think we can say we've all enjoyed it, the fans have enjoyed it, and I think on track, everyone else has enjoyed it.
I have enjoyed every second of being in this country. It is the Argentine Grand Prix. Look at that lovely retro feel to the event. It's like an old Le Mans 24-hour Bol d'Or race. Campsites everywhere, barbecues everywhere. Interesting attitude to health and safety here and there, but hey.
That's the way we like it. The Argentinian colours and drama being belted out from on the grandstand here.
So the Argentine national anthem belted out by a rather well-known opera singer. Fair old voice on that gentleman, I must say. But I'll repeat something I said earlier, and I've got to make no apologies for it, Keith. This doesn't feel like an Argentine Grand Prix. It feels like a Grand Prix for the whole of the continent of South America.
Do for me. Bradley Smith, 3rd row of the grid. Let's talk about the Brits. Bradley Smith, 3rd row of the grid, then qualified in 7th place. And I think he's worked on race pace. That young man has been working very hard. He only just missed out on the 2nd row by 9 1/1000ths of a second. That's if he just had a little more pace in qualifying, he would have given himself just that little bit of an advantage. He's on the dirty. You heard Neil talking about the dirty side of the grid. He is 2 places behind, in line with Marc Marquez. So he's got the same criteria that Neil Hodgson was talking about on the grid there to deal with from the 3rd row, though. If he'd qualified just 1 better, 6th place, he'd be, well, he would have been where he needs to be, where Valentino Rossi actually is at the moment, on the good side of the grid, which is on the right-hand side as you look down towards turn 1, the racing line, effectively.
I had a quick chat to Bradley first thing this morning before warm-up, and he confirms what we were thinking yesterday, Keith. Absolutely, definitely working long-term on used tyres, on what he was going to be doing at the end of the race.
Fuel is also a concern. There it is. That gives you Marquez going with a hard front and a hard rear, but significantly the hards coming into use on both Lorenzo and Pedrosa's rear end there, with mediums on the front, which we would have expected anyway. there were some of the slower bikes, and I tell you the difference in speed here between the quick bikes and the slow ones. 25 kilometres an hour, 15 miles an hour difference. Again, we heard Neil talking about Brock Parks, who incidentally we missed, and I apologise for that off of the qualifying yesterday. He was just on a different page to the one that we were looking at the time. Brock Parks and Michael Laverty doing a great job for Paul Bird Motorsport. Now there's an interesting situation. Alish and Dobby going for hard fronts but medium rears.
Well, that's the hardest tyre they can use, Keith. They're open class.
Indeed, but the hard front, both of them on the hard fronts, which goes to show you how hard they're pushing on the front of their open class bikes. Going to be a bit of a tyre war, but getting back to where I was thinking, also with fuel, so much wheel spin here. I wonder if everybody's done their data and done their homework well enough to keep within that 20-litre use. As we look across the front row then, this is the MotoGP, this is the main event, and this is the magnificent Marc Marquez. Will he make it 3 from 3? Certainly he's already got 3 pole positions. The grid, Marc Marquez, Jorge Lorenzo, Dani Pedrosa. What a lineup across there, and behind them 3 men that can spoil it for them. Alish Espargaro, Dovi, Dovizioso, Valentino Rossi. Rossi, I think, has worked on race pace. We'll really see him come good towards the end with a bit of luck. Bradley Smith should have perhaps been on the second row of the grid, but that's good enough. He's on the slippy end of the slippy side of the grid, I should say, for that launch. Iannone in the middle. Stefan Bradl we heard from a little bit earlier on. Alvaro Bautista is next up alongside Espargaro pole, and of course Nicky Hayden as well. Scott Redding is back on the 5th row of the grid with Colin Edwards and Carol Abram, as a resurgent Carol Abram. And if we look down, Ayama, Hernandez and Parks on that 6th row. 7th row is Pirro standing in, of course, for Cal Crutchlow here. Pirro will again be a wild card in Jerez. Michael Laverty, the middle of the 7th row. Hector Barbera, Di Meglio, and of course Petrucci being the last man on the grid. Getting ready then for the warm-up lap, Jules, and I've got to say I've got a bit of a sweat on the old palms already for this.
Yes. Now, I said at the start of the year that man there, Marc Marquez, that if he's got a weakness, it's his starts. And then came Texas, and I went to find him afterwards at the debrief. He said, oh yes, over winter I practiced a lot on my starts.
I watched the practice starts that they were doing here earlier. Do you remember sitting in there with me? And I'm shocked at how the 2 Repsol Hondas get off the line. They are bang, straight on it, straight on it. And compared with all the others, when you can watch them all doing practice starts, I know they're only practices, but they take it very, very seriously indeed. And the Repsol Hondas seem to be really set fine for a really good start, really punching out of the corners. Tyre allocation, then factory bikes get hard and medium. Julian's already gone through that a bit. Medium soft for the open bikes. That's the rear tyre allocation. But the front tyres, you had a choice of 3 when we came here, which is very unusual indeed. Usually it's only 2. You had a soft, a medium and a hard for the front. Of course, everybody has gone for a hard or a medium. Softs just wouldn't cut it, I don't think.
Well, Hector Barbera has gone for a soft.
Yeah, where's he on the grid?
Yes, and that's a bit Hector. Shall we just say that, Keith?
I don't think that'll be working too well for it later on, and I'm not even out there looking at it. 7th on the grid, as we said, is Bradley Smith. Now, if he equals or improves on his 5th place finish of 2 weeks ago in Texas, he'll be the youngest British rider to have successive top 5 finishes. This is a Dr. Martin Rains stat, not one of mine, in the Premier class since John Newbold. Oh, wow. In 1975. John Newbold, Noddy Newbold, killed sadly at the Northwest 200 some years ago, but the man that I raced with back then, and I'm glad that he's remembered in dispatches from Dr. Martin Rains.
I make a point every year at Brno, Keith, remembering his 1/500 win.
And that, I think, was on the old T500 type twin-cylinder Suzuki,
I
not the
think
4-cylinder RGs that came out later that Barry Sheen had and kicked everybody with. There you go. That's retro.
We'll get to that mid-season.
2014, and this is what it looks like from above and looking down on the grandstand. You can see the finish line that they're all coming over now. The finish line is considerably closer to the last turn than, of course, the start line that they're all lining up for now. Marc Marquez comes to his marks. Watch the kind of start that him and Pedrosa get on those Hondas.
Well, if he wins from pole, the first 3 races of the year from pole, he'll be the first man to do that since Agostini in 71. There's a stat for you.
And talk about retro. We're absolutely there climbing. And that's a Dr. Martin Rains stat as well.
Of course it is.
Here we go then. Under starters orders. This time, hopefully, Jorge will wait for them to go off rather than on. Middle of the grid is Jorge Lorenzo. Oh, good start from Lorenzo. Lorenzo gets a peach of a start. Well, he knew what he was at, didn't he? Will it be Marc Marquez or will it be Pedrosa that gets under him? Nobody. Jorge Lorenzo does exactly what he's got to do. Look at the two Tech 3 bikes trying to get around the outside of Paul Espargaro and Bradley Smith as well. So they're vying for positions.
Has
gone back.
That's Iannone, isn't it, on the Pramac Ducati, who's forced up to second.
Good start. So Iannone protecting Jorge Lorenzo's lead as they come out of turn 3 onto the back straight, powering up now through the gears from 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th gear, 208 miles an hour, and with no wind today they might even exceed that. It is Jorge Lorenzo that leads into the 5th turn on the course from still Iannone. From that, look who's coming through, Valentino Rossi, is it?
3rd, yes, Iannone went wide, and Lorenzo's gone wide.
Down as well, Alvaro, is that?
Yeah, that's Petrucci on the floor as well. What's happened there?
A bit tangled up at the back by the look of it to me. We'll wait and pick that up in a minute. But Rossi has gone for the front and he's out in 2nd place at the moment. We're looking back at 93 Marc Marquez, but it's Valentino Rossi. He's got thousands. In fact, every other man here is a Valentino Rossi fan.
Yes, it was Bautista you saw on the floor, Keith.
Looked like it because he was short.
Not Scott Redding, obviously. So Danny Pedrosa leads from the 2 Yamahas. Well, we thought that Valentino would have some race pace for the latter stages. He's not messing around at the start either, is he?
I'm just wondering what happened to Jorge Lorenzo. Through comes Valentino Rossi, hits the front of the crowd, are going to go wild. 3 abreast.
Oh, squeeze Danny.
Racing. The 2 Yamaha Teamsters get 4 of the Repsol Hondas, and there's another one coming around the outside. That is, of course, the magnificent Marc Marquez on the 93
Dobby's there.
When have you ever seen this many MotoGP?
It's a Moto 3 race.
Side by side into turn 1. Oh, sort yourself out.
Dobby up to 2nd.
Pushing and shoving. Dobby going through again into 3rd place now. Oh, sorry, that's Iannone on the 29 bike that's pushed himself back up to 3rd place. Dobby's already in 2nd place.
Dobby was across the line.
Oh, down has gone Pedrosa. Pedrosa has gone down out of the pack. He lost the front, it looked like to me. Danny Pedrosa has dumped it on the dirt.
That's Alex Espargaro. I think you were conned by the orange.
Forgive me.
I forgive you. I was about to say that Espargaro had made a right mess of the start and gone backwards, and it's gone worse. He's back in the race, though.
Forcing his way through. Well, apologies to you at home. I'm sure I got cussed out there, and deservedly so too. Down has gone. It's because I think Pedrosa has slipped so far back that it looked like him, and you're right, yes. It was because it was an orange bike, perhaps.
6th place, Danny, so
and Marc Marquez back there as well.
I feel your pain. All sorted out in that last couple of corners when there was absolute mayhem. And it looked, never mind a Moto 3 race, it looked like a Red Bull rookies race.
Backwards and forwards has gone Valentino Rossi. He led only a few bends ago. Now look at him. It's back with Jorge Lorenzo back out front. So Jorge, and these are the 2 Repsol bikes, but they've got hard compound tyres on the front and the rear. In the case of Marc Marquez, they might take a little longer to come in. We'll have to wait and see. You've got the tyre list in front of you, Jules. What are you doing?
Marc Marquez has the hard front. Danny Pedrosa has the medium front. They both have the hard option rear tyres. Ducativille for Lorenzo, fastest lap of the race, 1:39.8. First man into the 39s. This is Lorenzo's plot, isn't it? Try and get away. Only way, Keith. Yep. Absolutely.
It's the only way.
We saw it so many times last year.
I don't think any of these guys know how these tyres are going to last towards the end of a race. Iannone stuffs it underneath Dobby. Dobby's come back at him, though. No room. Ha! Andrea Iannone was holding that line.
And Rossi sees 2 Ducatis in front of him, which won't amuse him at all.
It won't be lost on his sense of humour.
It won't. Stefan Bradl good.
Yeah, Bradl.
Is that top Honda?
Yeah. Yes, it is. Stefan Bradl, top Honda. Marc Marquez behind him, as is Pedrosa. Look at this, Bradl round the outside. Valentino underneath. Dobby's just been duffed up.
Is that what he was talking about to Neil earlier?
Could have been. Watch out, these guys have been... Well, we know Valentino watches the Moto 3 race. I think the rest of them have.
Where's Bradley Smith? He's down in 9th. Scott Redding is 13th, with right on Nicky Hayden's case. Carol Abraham's the leading Honda customer bike.
Michael Laverty in 20th place. That was close again there.
Guess who?
Marquez, yeah. He's been Marquezed. Laverty and Parks, 19th and 20th. Still Lorenzo eking out a lead, making this fast-flowing track work for him. Well, they were at 110 mile an hour lap average, or rather that man was, Marc Marquez, in qualifying. Well, what can they do in the race?
This is the only thing that can beat him. We thought it might be a Yamaha track, but there's no evidence for that. Marquez attacking and passing.
Yeah, on the penultimate corner.
Yes.
No jump starts, I'm relieved to tell you.
And look, Rossi going for second, Iannone the victim.
Beautiful. How classy was that?
Just makes it look easy still.
Drops it in front of him, so he's got no comeback to that whatsoever, until, of course, we get into the slipstream city. This is turn 2.
And this is helping Lorenzo. This is Christmas for Jorge Lorenzo.
Well, he's doing his job, Lorenzo. That's what he does. He's a very, very smooth rider, looking to make that M1 work for him, whereas you've got the aggression of the Marquezes of the world. Lorenzo could be classed as a bit of old school the way he rides that motorbike.
Absolutely, he's got a lead of over a second already.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's going to last. Depends how much his teammate can balk the rest of them. Marquez looking at the inside of Iannone. Rub, make room.
Oh, Valentino's gone out wide and the pair go past him.
Gifted it to Marquez and Iannone. Valentino is having a proper go here, isn't he?
He is, isn't he? Great to see.
He's led it, then he's made a mistake and gone back, then he's had another go up to second place, now he's back in 4th place, yo-yo. Back through to 3rd place, now he comes under Iannone.
He's at it, isn't he?
And wide again and loses place. Bradle almost managed to squeeze through there.
Valentino got that on the move.
Now we've got the last turn on the course. No, we haven't. We're at Assen. The Assen bends.
Where's Bradley? Still in 9th, but closing.
Got a bit of work to do, though, hasn't he?
Well, it's his teammate in front of him, so Bradley's basically made a mess of the start.
How much of this is going to affect these tyres, you know, pushing and shoving and spinning and wheeling?
And the fuel economy, as you were saying, Keith. If fuel is going to be an issue...
Well, if you're doing a load of wheel spin, your motor's actually doing more mileage than your bike is, if that makes any sense to anybody. This man won't be spinning. I'm sure he's easing it on. There it goes, plus 1.3. That'll be... there's not music to your eyes, is there?
The lead over the line, exactly 1 second to 3 decimal places. Fastest man on the course, Marc Marquez, 39.4. Half a second quicker than Lorenzo last time round.
Let's have a look at this again as they drop. Oh, dear me. That was a wide old line there. Oh, that was when Alvaro obviously tipped off and Petrucci fell in behind him in sympathy. Rading and Hayden having a proper battle on the RCV thousands as well.
I'm glad to say that Scott's just gone past Nicky and Carol Abrams in that fight as well.
Yeah, good man coming back from that sore shoulder. It might be the doctor's dangle, but suddenly you've got a Bradle in it and he moves him out wide. You've got to feel a bit sorry for Valentino. He's trying as hard as he possibly can, shaking heads from inside Valentino's side of the garage.
I think he's done worse.
Indeed, he certainly has. Let's have another look at it then. Bradle had a big off yesterday that knocked him senseless. Well, it didn't actually knock him senseless, otherwise he wouldn't be able to ride today, but certainly he looked a bit dazed after it. Back on 4th.
Angry Valentino ahoy.
And all the time, Jorge Lorenzo is going about his business. That's turn 9, then the flip-flop for 10 and 11. Then it's down the hill, all the way down through 140 miles an hour, up to 168 miles an hour in 4th gear before back down the gearbox for a bottom gear bend and 45 miles an hour.
This is what we wanted to see. Marc Marquez working for a living.
On the other side now, Marquez chasing Jorge Lorenzo. How much will he relish this? How much will Jorge hate this? He's going to see on his board now that Marquez has closed in.
Iannone's still in 3rd. We saw how well he went at the start at Texas, but then was one of the several riders to hit terminal tyre trouble.
There was a Ducati stat from Dr. Martin Rains as well about another 3rd place. If Dovi managed it, it would be the first time that we've seen a Ducati on the podium in 2 consecutive races since Casey Stoner days, I think it was.
Well, it would have to be Casey Stoner.
Could be anybody else.
Back to 2010, Keith.
So, does just a Ducati in the hands of Iannone count? I suppose it does.
Of course it does. Now, Valentino has been pushed back, I think, to 6th. He's behind Pedrosa.
Lorenzo's lead cut even further. Marquez honing in. 20 laps to go. It's just a matter of time, isn't it, you feel?
But how good to see Lorenzo working like this off the front. This is the plot of most of last year.
You see, I think to myself as we look at Valentino Rossi getting underneath again. That's a replay of going past Dovi into the penultimate corner. That's where Rossi is now. He needs to put together just a few good laps to settle himself back down again, I think, if he's going to catch the train that's moving away from him at the minute. I was about to say, I think, Jules, if I can, just finish off what I was about to say. It was Marc Marquez, hard front tyre. I think it was maturity that he didn't go for it early on. He needed to get that tyre under him and work it. You've got to work these Bridgestones. Once they've parked on the grid for just a few seconds, tyre temperature is going out of them. So he had to give it a couple of laps before he could make the bike do what he wanted to do, particularly with the hard front end that he's got in it. Makes a big difference. Once he's settled down into the rhythm and he's got the tyre temperature back up to speed, Marquez has unleashed the power of the Honda and he's now on Lorenzo's case. I don't think that he was getting bullied back into the pack. I just think he was waiting for the bike to come back to him.
Well made, point well made. Bradley Smith's passed his teammate and up to 8th. And Pedrosa is closing in on Bradl.
Bradley Smith, we think, has done a lot of race pace data gathering during the last 3 days. He's been here making sure he's run old tyres at different sessions, and he's not wasted his allocation. He's really been trying hard to make sure that bike is right for the race.
Nicky Hayden back to the front of a 3-bike punch-up for top customer Honda. That is Hayden Abraham Redding at the moment.
Bradl having another look. Bradl
He doesn't care, does he?
Iannone leaves enough room, though. Iannone left room, but I tell you, the privilege wasn't passed on, was it?
It certainly wasn't.
Didn't give Iannone any room. Well, why should you?
Indeed.
What did somebody say earlier on? It's not tiddlywinks.
Hitting.
That was it. Something I know he does.
Danny Pedrosa on the case. Now, talking of on the case, Marquez as... Well, there's just a certain terrible inevitability, isn't there, about it?
Well, the guy's a class act, isn't he? As is Jorge Lorenzo. Jorge has consistently been one of my favourite riders over a great number of years. I think the bloke is brilliant on a motorbike. Him and Casey Stoner I used to really like watching on a bike, but...
Such contrasts in style between
Indeed
those two.
They are, but quality, the way they get the best out of the bike. The Yamaha just isn't quite the bike to beat a man like Marquez on an RCV 213. It's just not done, is it?
And Jorge saw last time the gap was 0.6. It's now a quarter of a second. Stefan Bradl does cross the line in 3rd place for the first time and is down to 4th by the time they get to turn 1.
Yep. You've got to watch out for Pedrosa as well, because he's not going to be satisfied with being 5th and seeing his teammate is going to go for the lead at any given moment.
Rossi's dropped off the pace a little.
What tyres is he on again?
Valentino. Bear with me,
medium
caller.
and hard, wasn't he? I think, if that's right.
Valentino Rossi, a hard front tyre and a hard rear tyre. Jorge's got the medium front.
That's right. So he's on the same. Valentino's on the same tyre then as Marc Marquez, who's making all the moves. Danny looks at the inside, gets up the inside of Bradl, can't make it past Iannone. That's a fast old straight, 210 mile an hour, I would think they're doing today. When they were up against the wind yesterday, it was 205, so I would expect them to be a little quicker, perhaps in a straight line at the end of that straight today. We're on board. Bradley Smith has gone ahead of Paul Espargaro. So Bradley Smith up to 8th place now. Dovy's his next target.
Those two have been going back and fro a little in the past couple of laps, Keith. They've got to find...
Oh, Danny, he was on a wiggler there. Go on.
Bradley's got to find about 0.4 to get up to Dovey.
He could find that.
Beg your pardon.
The race moves on.
Sorry, 1.1, a little bit further.
OK, well, that's still well doable. 18 laps to go. Up the inside then? Not quite. So Danny Pedrosa looking at the inside of Iannone. The 29 bike of Iannone, he is a bit of a revelation, isn't he?
Well, remember Texas 2 weeks ago? He absolutely ruined the tyre by charging hard early in the race.
Yep.
Dovey knew better and just conserved his ammo a little bit.
Iannone's been quick, though, from testing right at the beginning of the get-go with that Ducati.
Absolutely agreed, Keith. And not just here, but in every race we've been to.
And Sepang at the beginning of the year, the official tests.
Danny's having to work to get to him.
And then he's got to stay past him if he makes it past him, because that Ducati doesn't look short on horses. Now, we had a motor problem on that Ducati in free practice when it locked up at the end of this straight and sent him straight on unceremoniously.
It was a nasty crash, wasn't it?
It was one of those ones where the rear end locked up and you couldn't do anything about it.
Back of the picture, Keith. Bradley Smith and Paul Espargaro.
Yeah, and that's going to be one that's going to run and run.
Danny. And Stefan.
Stefan Bradl comes past Iannone as well. Iannone goes back another place. Bradl, great style. Looks really good on that Honda. And seeing the two factory boys right out in front of him and being in touch with one of them has got to be a big bonus. Now then, Marc Marquez, His normal way would be to demoralise all in his path as early as he can. He's kept this gap back to Lorenzo for some laps now. It's been consistent, and you got the feeling. Now, is he acting maturely, like he did in Valencia at the end of last year? Remember, he knew exactly what he'd got to do.
Which he hated.
No, I'm sure he did as a rider, especially one his age, 21 years old now, 20 back then. But the fact of the matter is he being mature? He knows there may be a question mark over tyre life. So why do a load of work? Why spin your tyre up? Why go past Lorenzo? Let Lorenzo be the rabbit.
Yes, why not? Don't risk the conclusion of the race.
Clever thinking, and I'm sure that's what he is thinking.
Just an interesting one. Not this last lap before, as you look at a replay of the crash.
That is 41 Espargaro Elish that pseudo Danny.
Definitely, Alicia. You can see why, though, Keith. In your defence, Your Honour, the bar for the orange wheel on the bike we were looking from, of course, but we won't talk about that.
No, absolutely. There was the giveaway, had I really been watching carefully. Still Lorenzo out front, still nice and smooth.
Lap before last, Valentino Rossi set his best lap of the race, and he's 0.4 slower than it this time round. What's going on there?
Inconsistency has been the hallmark of his race so far, Valentino, which you wouldn't have said.
No, the last man you'd expect that of.
Lorenzo and Valentino normally metronomic in their lappage.
Yeah, Valentino was down to a 40 flat, you know, not far off Lorenzo's pace. He's got to a 44 last time round, and he's on his own.
Confirmation of tyre compounds then. Front tyre medium, hard for Lorenzo. Marquez hard and hard for him. So I think Marquez, he does tend to run harder rear tyres than most anyway. It's interesting that everyone is running a hard rear tyre this weekend.
Everybody on the grid is running the hardest option they can.
Yeah.
On the rear of the bike.
And that includes the open class that are all having to run mediums, of course, which may be detrimental towards the end of it. Valentino stuffing it underneath Iannone.
So again, Valentino that time around 40.1, so his lap times are a bit flaky, but he's making progress.
15 laps to go. He's not going to be a winner, but he's certainly going to be in the hunt for a
rostrum?
Third place, yes, for a rostrum.
Because he was certainly seriously displeased after Texas. He really thought he deserved a rostrum at Texas.
Well, for the effort he's put in today, he deserves one, but then again, just about 6 riders around him deserve that as well. Great slow-mo. Hello, Andrea.
Lovely shot.
Looking at those tyres is where I am at the moment, just to see if I can see any graining going on there, but doesn't seem to be from our monitors here in the commentary place.
These are the leaders, Lorenzo and Marquez. As you said a couple of laps ago, Marquez seems to be content to sit behind Jorge Lorenzo.
I think he is, and I think that's the most sensible move for him to be. The only other thing is, Livio Supo said the other day, what is dangerous is when he's not actually going for it, because that's, of course, when mistakes move in. If you're not concentrating to the level that only he can understand, maybe that is, you know, I don't know. We're only speculating. It's early in this race still for these two just yet. One note of interest down at the bottom end of your leaderboard to your left of your screen there. Michael Laverty has now got in front of his teammate, 19th and 20th. It's Laverty over Parks now. Parks having a great qualifying session on the Paul Bird Motorsport machine.
Bradley Smith has taken 0.6 out of Dovizioso in the past 3 laps and is closing in on 7th place. As you have said from the start, we think Bradley has concentrated totally on race setup.
Yeah, I think race pace is where he's gone. I mean, he qualified as in 7th place, which is a good qualifying place. One better would have made it just a little easier for him, perhaps, but good pace. Here we go, Bradley Smith on Dobby. He's there already. So despite the fact we talked about it, he's right up with him now. Gives you an indication, doesn't it? Dobby, will he have the tyres? I think even he was speculating about that.
Yeah. That's 0.4 in a lap that Bradley's had out of him. Pedrosa's personal best last time round, 39.9, more or less the pace of Lorenzo at the front.
Dobby did a 141.2 last time out, 140.9. 0.3 of a second quicker was Bradley Smith on that last lap, which is why he's where he is now. He's closed that half-second gap really neatly. Onto the back straight then. Big slipstream he's looking for on the Tech 3 Yamaha. Breezing up the inside on the brakes. Dobby's good, though. Dobby's very, very good. Can he hold it down? Bradley should have been in position there, because he'd have had that then.
There's the problem of the Ducati Illustrated.
The problem also is when you're behind someone like that, if they start to run wide, you sometimes follow the bike rather than the line you should be on. It's a a mistake that many riders, even of this quality, make. But he didn't make a mistake there. Stuffed it underneath Dobby. Can Dobby make a comeback on the inside? No. Thank you very much. Bradley meets the apex. We're coming up to turn 9 now of the flip-flops. It's also got a massive change of elevation off the top of 9. It drops for 10 here and then comes back up again for 11. And now it's power, power, power all the way down the hill. 100 mile an hour through that corner, up to 168 miles an hour as they drop down the hill and back to bottom gear and 45 miles an hour into that complex at starting the new lap.
Marquez takes a very careful look at his pitboard every lap. Rossi cleanly and clinically past Bradle.
Very clean.
Oh, but he leaves room.
Yeah, well, he didn't have a choice. He ran wide. This is the problem. He's not being able to turn the Yamaha at the moment. But back at turn 2, where there is a fair amount of banking. Hello, and he runs up the hill onto the banking, leaves a great big dark line with the rear wheel spinning, onto the flat plateau of 3, which opens out into this. They call it another turn 4, but it's not a turn at all. They're all flat stick as fast as the thing will go onto the back straight, and then 210 miles an hour into the braking zone, up for turn 5, which will be back down to second gear and 54 miles an hour through here. A lot of them overshoot here because it goes so flat just there. The camber doesn't go away from you, but goes dead flat. There is no camber to help you, to hold you down, despite the fact you're pulling it back from 210 mile an hour.
Last time round, Valentino Rossi 1:39.84, by far his best lap of the race. I think again, Keith, you have it right. Rossi was working on race setup through practice and qualifying.
Well, we'd hope so, but there's still a long way. 13 laps of tyre burning to do on this
and fuel burning.
4.8 kilometre track.
Scott Redding in 14th at the moment, just behind Abraham and Oyama and Hayden. So all of those customer Hondas in a bundle together from 11th back to 14th.
Jorge Lorenzo, 12 laps to go. He uses the inside curve. Marquez sits there still. It's a watching brief for Marquez. Maturity beyond the 21 years of the reigning world champion. And again, a look at the start. I can tell you there was no jump start. That came up on my monitor. In fact, I'm looking at it now. There are no jump starts, so we're not looking at this for any other reason than the pleasure of the first corner.
And we saw Colin Edwards get the rough end of the stick there and be punted backwards.
Yeah, it looked like Alvaro was out on a wide one as well there.
No surprise there, Keith.
No, you're right. But usually it's further up the field.
Very true.
That's a great shot, isn't it? They look like jockeys at Cheltenham or somewhere. Except I've never seen a horse lean quite that well. Oh, Valentino. Valentino had the rear end of that bike spinning at the top of your picture there. You can just see the thing waggling its head.
We've seen that a few times from Valentino. This is not typical of a Valentino Rossi motorcycle.
Or Valentino.
But
we have seen
more to the point,
a massive change of style this year from Valentino. And there is Scott Redding going through your picture. Here we go.
Still stalking him.
It's good, isn't it?
In the true meaning of the word.
It's all very well stalking, and it's all very well us saying that he's sitting there maturely waiting and waiting to make the pass on Lorenzo, but we've seen what Lorenzo's capable of in immediate comeback. He's got to snap straight back at Marquez. When Marquez goes by, doesn't matter so much about that. I think that's an inevitability. Fact is, you've got to come straight back at him immediately. Next turn, next opportunity, bang straight back at the kid.
Do the Bayliss on him.
But you've got to say that that kind of strategy usually favours a 21-year-old.
Yes. Pedrosa making progress in third, just on his personal best again. Rossi down another 10th, 39.7. So, as you would expect, Keith, the old hands, Pedrosa and Rossi.
They're the quickest in the race at the moment.
Quickest in the race. We're a good way through the race. Well, it's a 25 lapper. There are 11 to go, past half distance, and the men with experience are picking up the pace.
Danny's trying to bridge that gap. He's got time to do it, but he's got to put in some very, very neat laps here. Danny Pedrosa, then. He is really a proper jockey, isn't he, Danny Pedrosa? Yes. Tiniest animal you've ever seen riding a beast-like MotoGP machine.
Oh, and Rossi really pressing, and Bradle, I have to say, for that horrible crash he had on Friday,
Yeah, but he's settling now.
Yep.
It seems like Rossi has got a grip on himself and is starting to put some rhythm into this. If you disturb the rhythm too much, you just start to go backwards. Not by much, but you've got to get a rhythm on a track like this.
That's why I was surprised by the variation in his lap times at 5-10 minutes ago.
He was being interfered with by just about everybody on the track, and then having to force it underneath people to try and get the thing moving. And as we said already, being offline here is not where you want to be at all. It's the dirtier parts of the track that you don't know what they're going to do, effectively.
Well, Pedrosa and Rossi were quicker than these two, the leaders, last time round, just by a fraction.
Yeah, I still think that Marquez, that there's probably a second a lap in Marc Marquez. In normal situations, Marc Marquez has a second a lap over everybody else nowadays. And if he's running a hard front, a hard rear, pretty much the tyre's going to stay with him. If they are concerned with fuel consumption, then Marquez is doing the sensible thing. He's sitting there. He'll roll the throttle behind Lorenzo. He'll just roll the throttle at the end of the straight. He's not looking to outbrake him, so he hasn't got to hold onto the throttle as long. He can brake, you know, as smoothly as he likes off the end. Just roll the throttle, and that's how you conserve fuel. Instead of braking right the way into turns, you just roll it off, keep a little bit of fuel, save a little fuel, just sip at it off the end of the straights.
Bradley Smith in a solid 7th place, 7.7 seconds behind Iannone, and with Dovizioso still behind him, about 0.7 of a second behind him.
Well, we've speculated on the strategy regarding Marc Marquez and indeed Danny Pedrosa at Repsol Honda and their fuel conservation. I wonder what's happening. Livio Supo is in the pits.
Livio, Mark, there you can just see behind Jorge. What do you make of it? Is he comfortable?
Looks like. I don't think it's comfortable to ride anyway like that, but it's a very exciting race. First lap were unbelievable, so we see. Jorge is doing very well, and Mark is a little bit slower than in the practice, but not sure if he's because he's just waiting or something else.
In terms of tyres, fuel economy, you all feel you're going to be okay towards the end of the race?
Yeah, fuel consumption should be under control, and tyres in the practice was okay. So
when's he going to make the move then?
I have no idea.
If we all knew that, we'd be on there. Thanks very much, Livio.
Big differences between car racing and, of course, motorcycle racing. No ship-to-shore radio here, so they don't know what's going on in the rider's mind. He's not telling them. They're not telling him. The only thing they've got is a pit board to communicate, and that's only a one-way communication. So Marc Marquez, whatever his strategy is personally, they'll have no idea in the team much. They might have discussed it, but...
Of course, but look at Danny Pedrosa. He's inching closer, Keith. 39.7 and quarter of a second quicker last time round than his teammates.
You wouldn't put it past a Repsol 1-2, would you?
You really wouldn't.
You were reluctant to agree.
You know me, I'm always reluctant to agree.
Yeah, that's us.
That's the benefit of age, Keith. But here we are.
Here we go, straight through there. Marc Marquez has decided with 8.5 laps to go. I can hardly spit it out of my mouth. 8.5 laps to go. Marc Marquez has decided to go past Jorge Lorenzo. Will Jorge Lorenzo bite straight back, or will Jorge Lorenzo effectively concede?
Or will he have no option?
Yeah, there's the crux of it, isn't it? He's not going to bite straight back because already there's too much of a gap for him to make. What? Well, no, actually, Marc Marquez was on a good line. You see the dark line that was out wide there. We thought he was wide, but he was on the track that had the grip.
As soon as the camera pulled back, I tried to stifle the "oh my lord" remark.
Up through 9 and 10, onto 11 now. Dropping down through 11, 100 mile an hour at the apex of that. Building up to something like 170 miles an hour down the hill into the penultimate corner. We expect shenanigans here if anybody's in a close attendance, but not now. Marc Marquez rounds it in bottom gear, 50 mile an hour, 80 odd miles an hour at this point now, and onto the front straight up to 180 miles an hour down towards turn 1, pulling it back to second gear for 70 mile an hour. He's gone.
Fastest lap of the race, 39.33 to Marc Marquez. That is... Yes. 3/4 of a second quicker than the man in second, Lorenzo, last time round.
I think somewhere along the lines I said he had a second in it, and that was proved from qualifying. He was able to do it as they studiously watch on in pit lane.
Like you say, 3/4 of a second, and that included the overtake.
There's nobody quite like him. It's 39.3. That was his quickest time in free practice 3, was 39.3, and that was with a new, I think it was with a new tyre actually. So he's already up to his free practice time. Of course, when it came to qualifying, he just stunned us all.
Rossi's personal best lap, 39.7. a couple of tenths quicker than Danny Pedrosa in third.
When we
is
look
their
at
time.
When we look at the sheets after this race, we are going to see how consistent Rossi has finally become, because 39.7, he's been on 39.7 for about the last 5 laps. Very, very consistent timing, which would have been perfect had he been in a better position. Fourth is good, but whether he won't be able to do anything with Pedrosa. I think Pedrosa is equally as consistent now in third place.
I think you're right.
Now it's all about whether Pedrosa catches Lorenzo. Lorenzo will now be getting boards for the man behind him, which will be Pedrosa.
There's the gap between the first two, and there's Rossi. All 4 men in picture for you in quick succession. Bradley Smith still in 7th, and a safe 7th. Scott Redding on the back of the 4-man customer Honda dice. Michael Laverty's got up to 18th. He's just overtaken Colin Edwards. 39.2 this time, fastest lap of the race.
He can do them at will. There is no odds when it comes to this young fella. He just keeps sticking in the times. 7 laps to go, and we are looking at the young man himself. Study of a 21-year-old at work on. And you've got to say that beating a man like Jorge Lorenzo at will is just a fantastic achievement. This guy's so good on a motorcycle, and yet Marc Marquez makes him look steady.
And Jorge got what he needed at the start of the race. A run at it.
What he needed was Marc Marquez to stall.
Yes,
that don't happen nowadays. Well, actually, it has.
Yes, to do what Jorge did last time out. And that is dispiriting if you're Jorge Lorenzo, who's...
Well, he's just, I mean, Jorge at the end of the day can only do what he can do with what he's got, and he will get the best from that motorcycle that he possibly can.
No question.
And just hope that there is a change of fortunes as the season goes on. But I think we are now risking hope. Somebody asked me earlier on this week whether Marc Marquez could go right the way through the year and win every single race. Well, who is there at the moment that can stop him, apart from him?
Even Yamaha people were saying to me this morning, I won't name them, that we've only got one problem. Number 93.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard comments like that in the past before from different teams at different eras, but really at the moment he is so far faster than everybody else. When he can be nearly a second quicker in qualifying than the very best men in the world and with the very best brains behind them. Yeah, as I thought, Lorenzo is now only getting a board, obviously, for Pedrosa. They're not worried anymore whether he can catch Marquez. It's more about the distance back to Pedrosa in third place. And Pedrosa is shutting him down, look, half a second on that last lap.
Yeah, that was Danny's best lap of the race, so Danny can smell blood.
Yes.
What's Valentino done? 40 flat. So it looks like Valley's got 4th nailed on. He's got a decent gap of, well over 3 seconds over Bravo.
Pol Espargaro has gone up a place to 8th. He's just done with Andrea Dovizioso. Lorenzo, the gap, 1.5 between Lorenzo and Pedrosa. We'll keep an eye on that, and that's in the first measured sector. We're on the second now, so 1.596. See if it reduces and where it reduces. There it is. It's clicking over, 1.568. So he's closed him down by 3/10.
A shout, I think, for Andrea Iannone. If he finishes in 6th place, that's where he is now, 7 seconds in front of Bradley Smith. If Iannone finishes there, Keith, it's a career best in Moto Grand Prix.
Do you know what? I didn't spot that earlier on, so that's a good stat. Iannone, mind you, he deserves it. He's been riding real well all weekend.
As you said, all year, I would argue.
Indeed. You don't have to argue with me then.
Brad has just done his best lap of the race, 40.5.
Aleix Espargaro is making his way through the field now. He's just replaced 17th man Michael Laverty. Laverty is in 18th. Brock Parks has dropped to 21st, so whatever their strategy, I was told this morning that they might try a soft tyre on the rear, which, to be frank with you, I just couldn't see working. What's it say on the Bridgestone?
No, the only soft tyre, as we said at the start of the race, Keith, is Hector Barbera. Softest tyre in the container on the rear of that Avintia.
And there must be another reason for Parks going backwards, because Edwards has just gone in front of him for 20th. But Colin Edwards in 20th place, that is...
He's 40 years old, give the lad a break.
Yeah, but he's mega fit, and at the end of the day, there are people in front that he should be beating.
Hard but fair.
And he would have it no other way, Colin. Fantastic bloke.
39.6 for Valentino, faster again.
Yeah, he likes it as the fuel load is coming down. He's just getting a little quicker, isn't he?
And Bradley, 40.4.
ditto with him, I would imagine. The Yamaha's fuel load, once it comes down, if you've got it set in that manner, you either get the grip up front at the first few laps, or you have it at the end of a race. And it would seem that with those two, as the fuel load drifts off, they get a little bit quicker.
Pedrosa 1.4 seconds behind Lorenzo when they went over the line last time round. It was 1.2 halfway round this lap. Is there time for Danny to get second place?
Tell you what, a shout out for Carol Abram as well.
Yes.
In 13th place. He deserves it. He's just stuck in a 39, I think it is. 41, sorry.
41.29.
41.296, but he's in 13th place, just one place in front of Scott Redding and Hector Barbara. And I just think that's he's finding some form on his way back. There's Nicky Hayden.
Yes, here we are with the customer Hondas. Carol Abram on the back of that trio, and they're chasing Michele
Pirro.
No, sorry, that's Yoni Hernandez in 10th place, and then all of the Hondas, Hayden, Oyama, Abraham and Redding. That is Carol Abraham.
Actually, Pirro is...
where's Pirro?
He's underperforming in 16th place at the moment. He is...
expected more, didn't you?
He's off the back of this lot by 1.2 seconds, so he's just out of shot. I knew it was there somewhere. Wait for him to come into vision. There he is, just about.
Nice to see Hiro Oyama looking like he means it again as well.
Well, I've got to see Yoni Hernandez having a proper ride as well, because he's all weekend he's looked like he might score a good qualifying, or you know, perhaps put it together in the race. And if he can manage 10th place as he is at the minute, that would be a fantastic result.
Personal bests that time round for Lorenzo, for Pedrosa, and for Rossi, and for Smith, and for Paul Espargaro. And further down for Michael Laverty.
Just see a line coming on the middle of that tyre now. Nothing wrong with the front, that's for sure. Marc Marquez just gently manoeuvring. You can see the rubber now being ground into the track and giving it just that little bit more grip. While we watch the man himself, Marc Marquez, making the manoeuvres around here and pulling away from Jorge Lorenzo. Let's go down to Neil Hodgson, who's got Hervé Poncharoll, the top man at Tech 3.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's Gavin anyway, but it doesn't matter because I am with Hervé. And your boys just set personal best laps on that last one. Is this what the whole weekend has been about, preparing these final laps?
Yeah, for sure. We know that we have the pace to go fast till the end of the race. We chose a hard option. In front of us, we have Iannone on a soft option, but it looks like, although we're catching on him, you know, he took a gap big enough to be almost unreachable. It didn't work that well with Dovi, so we managed to pass Dovi. I think no, they're doing a really great race. It's a learning curve. There are a lot still to learn, but I think they are showing that they're learning quick. So we're happy so far.
Thanks very much, Hervé.
You're looking at the fastest man in the race, the 26 machine of Dani Pedrosa. He has just put in a 1:39.233. Pedrosa is on the pace, is in the hunt for Lorenzo's position and making it a 1-2 for Repsol Honda. And with 3 laps to go, I don't think he's going to be denied. Maybe Lorenzo, though, will fight back a little harder with Danny than he did with Marc.
I don't think Marc left him many options, Keith, did he?
I like a little question at the end of that.
Yes.
If I'm going to say anything that's contrary.
Hayden goes back to the front of that entertaining dice between the Hondas and Hernandez. But at the front, Marquez, Lorenzo and Pedrosa. Rossi 39.3 last time round.
Rossi's personal best, so that's the fastest he's been all race long.
But he's 2.8 seconds behind Dani Pedrosa, and there isn't time left to pull that back.
Well, Danny's doing quicker laps anyway. Danny's on the quickest lap of the race, and he's right there with Lorenzo now. 2 laps to go. Through has gone Marc Marquez, then it's Lorenzo, and there is the sign that says it all to Lorenzo. Just what he doesn't want to see in front of him.
It was 0.4, now it's nothing.
Yeah, it's exactly that. 1:39.283. Says it all, really, compared with 1:39.7 for Lorenzo. That's the big difference on the left-hand side of your screen there. You can make it for yourself as Pedrosa closes in through turn 2. Now we've got turn 3, and that back straight. Wait for the move. Pedrosa is going to line up Lorenzo in front. He'll use the slipstream, surely. I'll tell you what, Lorenzo's quick out of there, but here comes the big drive of the Honda. Not good enough this time round. Lorenzo, if he can make the apex, has still got this job covered. He does.
Great little dice, this. Really good.
It's got that intrigue, tense kind of... Oh, superb. He's going to be on the inside down the bottom of the hill, but Lorenzo lets the brakes off and makes it all work. Will he hold the line? Yes, he will. That's a big wide line, picking up the apex late. It always looks like they've overshot, doesn't it? Up towards turn 9 now at the top of the hill. Still Danny hunting Lorenzo. Marc Marquez is gone, barring a mechanical. That's all sorted at the front. And it's been a long time since we've seen a mechanical from Honda.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, on the white line. See that thing moving around there. Drift City. Back down the gearbox now, into the braking area. Danny going up the inside. He's going to take it this time. Up the inside of Lorenzo. Lorenzo had no choice. He had to pick it up when he saw the orange wheel underneath him. Onto the last straight. Last lap time. Already Marc Marquez has started his last lap. Dani Pedrosa has now come through to make it a 1-2 for Repsol Honda. Well, Jorge Lorenzo, he's given up. He's thrown the towel in already. That's it. Bye-bye, Danny. He's backed it right out. Lorenzo looks to me like he's conceded, Julian.
Well, let us see. That was a great move by Danny. Never mind Honda power. Good old-fashioned up the inside on the brakes. Here I am, son. Do something about that.
Yeah, well, we'll wait to see if he can. Oh, Marc Marquez is right out in the dirt. Right out on the outside of turn 3 and 4.
What did he say after that last
concentrate. It's
incident in Texas? I like to give my mechanics' heart some RPM.
Well, he just gave us some. Still, Dani Pedrosa in second place. There is a place, obviously, several of them, that Lorenzo can try and make this up. But from that far back, I don't think it's done. Danny's got to make a mistake for Jorge to be in touch enough to make a braking manoeuvre into those last 2 turns. Marc Marquez then for Repsol Honda. Remember the controversy? We should have been here last year, of course, but that didn't happen. We are back here for this year. What a fantastic Grand Prix it's been throughout the 3 classes. Marc Marquez, though, has dominated qualifying again and has dominated the race again. 3 pole positions, 3 race wins. There is no one in his class at this moment in time. Jorge Lorenzo has done everything he could do. Dani Pedrosa has done brilliantly to make it a team 1-2, but there is no doubt about the imperious Marc Marquez as he comes down to the line for the last time, crosses the curb. No shenanigans, no heroics. Marc Marquez from Dani Pedrosa, from Jorge Lorenzo. That's your top 3, and a great 4th place from Valentino Rossi. Oh, how it might have been if Valentino hadn't got caught up in so many fights throughout the early parts of this race. Bradl comes through for 5th. Iannone is on for 6th at the moment, unless there's been a mistake. There hasn't.
Career best.
Great wheelie for the career best man as he goes over the line. Smith comes in 7th place, so that's as he qualified. Don't know whether he'll be happy with that or not. We'll find out later. He'll be happy to have beaten his teammate, Pol Espargaro, who is in 8th. Dovi comes home in 9th. Go on! Get in there, the 2 teammates. It's going to be Oyama, isn't it? From Hayden.
It is.
It is Oyama who's beaten his teammate Hayden. Yes! The Japanese really happy with that, isn't he? Johnny Hernandez has come through 12th. Abrams a great 13. Redding 14th. Aleix Espargaro after that time in the dirt finishes in.
Aleix got a point.
He did get a point.
Good boy.
Yeah, he got a point. Michael Laverty 18th.
How nice to see Hiro Oyama racing again.
Just waiting for Brock Parks to cross the line now. He should come home in 21st place. Not there yet, which is slightly worrying, and they were concerned. There he goes, he come over the line, so I was a bit worried about that because they were talking about fuel possibly being a problem.
Marc Marquez has just done what has not been done in the last 43 years, to win the first 3 races of the season from pole position.
Says it all about this young man while we digest what he has achieved, and the crowd applaud in absolute reverence. We'll take a very short break. When we come back, we've got more analysis. Parc Ferme celebrations have kicked off, although there's no celebrations particularly for Valentino Rossi, although 4th place after the shenanigans he got himself involved in up and down the track. Galbachera, his crew chief since Jeremy Burgess left, has gone in to console the Italian. But meanwhile, we have fun and games coming from Marc Marquez and his teammate Dani Pedrosa, who's already been down at Parc Ferme.
Really interesting reaction from Pedrosa and his crew. Pedrosa got off, shook his head, looked at his bike, shook his head, and his crew, you could see, were trying to lift him immediately, treating him like he'd won the race.
Well, he did a brilliant job, didn't he, to get through there?
I think so. And talking to his crew before the race, they were saying that they are in awe of the way Dani Pedrosa is working and changing his style and trying to work out how to beat that man, number 93.
Top two riders in the world, Dani Pedrosa and Marc Marquez on the Repsol Honda. Certainly that is the team. They are the men that you have to beat if you're going to try and win a World Championship. And right now, Jorge Lorenzo, I don't quite know where he was headed then, but he's in Parc Ferme now. He looks happy with third, but I just think that might be... well, I don't know. I mean, he worked hard on the bike. Obviously, that was the... If he's happy, that'll be because he's finished where he thought the bike is capable of finish. That's the only way that Jorge will have calculated happiness.
Ramon Facada doesn't look entirely delighted, but he did all he could. That's what you're saying.
I think so. I mean, Marc Marquez was just stalking him. At the end of it all, Marc Marquez, he had nearly a second in hand in every single practice session, so why didn't he have a second in hand in the race, or why wouldn't he have had a second in hand in the race? He did. And when he made the pass, he decided to keep the tyres in order. I just think Marc Marquez has become even more dangerous than he was before because he's using his brain as well. It's scarily good. While we look at Iannone, who also had a great career best ever race for himself. So he's quite rightfully happy.
Top Ducati by a distance.
Yeah, that won't go unnoticed, will it? I just have to digest that, as you said.
I could hear your digestion working as you...
Sorry about that.
That's all right, the cogs were whirring. But yes, it's Iannone has, as you say, from the Sepang test onwards, has been properly impressive. It was very easy in previous seasons to dismiss him as a bit of a nutter. We'll have to think again, or I will.
We certainly will. Let's get down and hear from the race winner.
Congratulations, Marc. Hat-trick of victories here in Argentina now. Were you just playing then? Were you just making a show of it, or?
Yeah, in the beginning was you know, was a little bit difficult because many riders there in front. The start was not so good because I started on the dirty place and spin a little bit the rear, but anyway, it was fun. In the beginning was so nice. Then I saw that Jorge opened some gap, and I said, okay, stop playing. And then I tried to push a little bit to catch Jorge. Then I stayed there some laps, and when remained 9 laps, I started to push a little bit more because I saw that Dani was coming. And was enough for take that 25 points.
Yeah, perfect to go back to Spain with. Well done, Marc.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, of course, it is Jerez next time round. We go to Spain for next weekend, and it's a big deal as far as Marc Marquez is concerned to win at home, as it will be for Jorge Lorenzo and Dani Pedrosa et al. They have such a competitive series, such a competitive nature that, to be frank with you, it's going to be a battle, Jules.
No argument at all. And we have to now start wondering about Marquez clean sweeping. I know there's only 3 races of an 18-race season gone, but it's being seriously talked about in this paddock.
Wayne Rainey's comment about it being the ground war is very, very important indeed. Let's take a look at the confirmed results as of the moment, without any protests going in, which I don't expect. Marquez, Pedrosa, Lorenzo, we're going to see them on the podium in a minute. Valentino Rossi, well, the fans here haven't been disappointed by his performance. He's certainly given them plenty of entertainment. Stefan Bradl, good ride from him considering he beat himself up yesterday. Andrea Iannone, a career best 6th. Bradley Smith in 7th as he qualified. Pol Espargaro in 8th place. Andrea Dovizioso in 9th. Oyama just pips Hayden to the line for 10th. Yoni Hernandez, good 12th place from Hernandez. Likewise, 13th for Carol Abrams. Scott Redding in 14th in front of Aleix, the recovering Aleix Espargaro. Hector Barbera up behind him. How did Hector Barbera make that work with a soft rear tyre in right to the end?
That's what I was going to ask you, Keith, because I'm sure I don't know.
Let's go down to the man who's made it a 1-2 for Repsol Honda after a hard day's work. He's with Gav.
That looked like a tough one, Dani. Was your race decided in those early laps, having to fight your way through?
Well, I actually did enjoy it, but kind of hate it. Weird feeling because I was riding very, very nice through the mid-race to the end, but unfortunately I was alone and I was just catching little by little. and that's why this feeling. But fortunately, could get second place. Unfortunately, that I slept a little bit on the beginning, not trying to force too much the tires on the early laps. But well, this is racing, so I have to take the positive. And in 1 week we are in Jerez, so let's go for that.
Let's see. Well done.
Danny Pedrosa, who says he hasn't got a sense of humour. Absolutely fantastic. Let's take a look then at the championship. Marc Marquez, well, clean sweep at 75 points at the moment. 19 behind is now Danny Pedrosa, his teammate. Valentino Rossi in third, 34 adrift. Dovizioso is in fourth place from Andrea Iannone, who's moved up one, as has Stefan Bradl. Jorge Lorenzo is up 9. That doesn't take a lot of doing considering what happened to him last time out. Dropping 3 is Elis Espargaro. Disaster, really. Bradley Smith stays 9th, but Elis Espargaro, you really would have thought that he'd have been higher with that after the testing that we saw at the beginning, the promise that there was. Bradley's teammate in 10th. Nicky Hayden drops 3. Oyama up 1. Brock Parks is got a point in 20th place in the series, and that concludes your championship positions at the moment. Let's see what Jorge Lorenzo's mood is at the moment. He's with Gav.
Yeah, how are you feeling, Jorge? How do you describe that third place?
Well, I didn't expect to stay so many laps in the first position because I thought that Marquez wanted to go away from the beginning, but I make a good start. I make a mistake in the first lap. Then Valentino and Pedrosa passed me, but I didn't want to stay behind, so I passed them very quickly and stayed very focused. I ride in the best way I could, and I get very tired. But anyway, I keep pushing and pushing to try to save this second place, but it was impossible. Danny was half a second faster, and when he passed me, I couldn't do so much.
You're happy that you're back on the right track now, you and the team?
Yeah, very happy. These are hard times for us. We are not in the best performance, but we keep strong, and when the good shape arrives, we will be prepared.
Congratulations, good ride, Jorge, well done.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Neil's further down pit lane, I believe, with Jorge's Yamaha colleague.
Yes, I'm down here with Bradley Smith. Bradley, that another tough race. How hard was that?
Unfortunately, similar scenario to the first 3 races. We just need to find something with the bike or with the chassis. I'm not really sure what, but for those first 10 laps, my pace at the end was where it needed to be. I started to do low 40s, so I know I'm there. I know we're doing a really good job, but just need to find a little bit more balance for Jerez. But obviously that's next week, so hopefully make amends there.
When you say balance, what does that mean?
Just like the balance in the bike, I feel that I've got too much weight on the front tyre, and as the fuel load goes down, as you can imagine, you know, that weight to the front goes less and less and comes more towards the rear of the bike. So then you have more of a neutral front and rear pressure rather than just all the pressure on the front. So it's a scientific thing. It's one that my technician and the technicians will crunch numbers, and I'm sure they'll come up with something special.
Okay, well, thanks, Brad, and good luck in Jerez. I believe Gav's with Ariyama right now.
Hero, congratulations. Great battle there with Nicky Hayden. Did you enjoy that one to finish as top open bike?
Yes, of course. It was a really tough battle with Nicky and Hernandez. It wasn't easy because we have to manage also the tire. The track was very hard for the tire, and we were struggling, especially last part of the race. So even try to pass, you have to get in the dot. So it was not really confidence to pass the other riders, but well, finally I finished in the top of this rival, so I'm really happy to finish in the top of open category. And I want to say thanks to the team and all the sponsors of us, and we try to continue same direction, same way, and try to be in the good shape and get again good result in the European races.
Thanks to you as well, Hero. Well done.
Thank you.
So Marquez does it again, but let's get back to the start of the race. Lorenzo having a brilliant start.
Yeah, he was, you know, he went on when the lights went off this weekend. And as you could see, I bet he was thinking over and over again, wait till they go off, wait till they go off. And he got a cracker. And, you know, as we've seen over the last kind of 18 months, Lorenzo, once he does get to the front on these early laps, he just disappears into the distance, and then everybody's got to play catch-up. And, you know, Marquez was kind of catching him after he got a bad start.
And you could see Marquez being a bit steady on the first couple of laps with that harder front tyre, the only guy that could run that. And then Smith,
we're looking at Bradley Smith now at the start.
Yeah, great.
He gets off well.
Same as Lorenzo, but unfortunately the Monster Energy Yamaha, it never has the pace on his first couple of laps that the factory bike has. I know Cal had the same problem last year, and obviously not as big a problem as Bautista and Petrucci on the floor.
Do you know Bautista, factory rider, hasn't scored a single point this year? He hasn't even got his points on the card as of yet. It's ridiculous, really.
Yeah, I think he got coached into that corner with Alicia Spargo, and he clips in the back, and then it's a separate incident.
This is so interesting. Look at this. The doctor has to remove his dangle. Look at that. They have to retract it, and Bradl goes around. Tongue, doctor, can you have a look at my rear end? He just slammed his way through there.
That was harsh, actually. Well, it wasn't harsh, but it certainly gave Valentino no option but to go off the track, and just putting it underneath. But the problem was Bradl went sideways just as he was turning in, and Bradl had nowhere to go but just go straight, and it pushed Valentino off the track.
And James, can we look at Marquez and Lorenzo, different style of riding?
Yeah, I was noticing all the way through this race how much more confidence and feel that Marquez and Pedrosa actually, when he made the pass on Lorenzo, going into the corners. You can see how sideways Marquez goes into the turns and how upright Lorenzo is, and you probably see Pedrosa here. Look, he was miles behind there, and to still get underneath him at that point in time just really shows you what work Yamaha have to do at the moment.
Just loads up the front tyre and just gets it in there.
Just nicks it at the end there.
Yeah.
All right, it's over to Julian. Are you there, Julian? And Keith?
I'm here, Melanie. Yes, Mel, I'm here enjoying a rostrum. Look at that. 3 Spaniards on the rostrum. I've just done a little bit of mathematics. Including today, there are 399 rostrum finishes represented by those 3 men, Keith.
But you've got to feel that that top step is being dominated by Marc Marquez.
Oh, yes.
And he's added just more weight to the argument. Can he go through the 2014 season unbeaten? Certainly qualifying, there doesn't seem to be anyone that can hold a candle to him. Strategically, there may be a track or two coming up where possibly Lorenzo might be able to take it to him, and it depends what Yamaha come up with to help Lorenzo with that.
An indication of how seriously this race is being taken, the National Minister of Tourism just presented that trophy.
I think Argentina has really pulled out all the stops. This is an area that none of us were familiar with. It's a long way from anywhere, and it's been a fantastic event.
And the governor, no less, of the province presents Marc Marquez with his winner's trophy. Who will stop him? Has anybody got an answer for this lad this year? It's his 19th win in the class.
Dani Pedrosa too will enjoy this national anthem. Once again, an all-Spanish podium, Julian.
Yes, an all-Spanish podium, Keith. And Marc Marquez, who has done 21 races in this class, stands on the podium for the 19th time. He's only missed the podium twice. Once through disqualification in Australia, and once through crashing out on the last lap in Mugello last year. And he's enjoying his work.
And enjoying the fruits of his labours are the Argentinian girls on the stand. So as they enjoy themselves up on top of the podium for the first ever Termas de Rio Hondo Moto GP, we'll take another short break. When we come back, even more analysis.
Yeah, I enjoyed a lot, especially on the beginning with all riders there. We overtake maybe I don't know, I cannot say how many times, but it was so nice. Anyway, you know, it was nice. I enjoyed, but it was quite a big risk on that situation. And then I saw that Jorge start to open a small gap, and then I said, okay, we will try to catch him. And then when I was behind him, I tried to follow him some laps, and when remained 10 and 9 laps, I started to push a little bit more because I saw that Danny was coming, and then just I keep the distance, and was enough for take the victory. So thanks to the team, thanks to Argentina fans, and I'm quite happy.